You know, I still remember it to this day. Iran was playing against Argentina in the 2014 World Cup. I think we could all agree that on paper, this was quite one-sided. After all, Argentina's captain was one of the best players to ever play football. Iran's captain, on the other hand, was just released by a club in Kuwait. So yeah, quite a difference between the two teams. The game started, and to everyone's surprise, it was still 0-0 until late in the game. A team of Messi, Aguero and Di Maria had a genuinely hard time breaking down the Iranian defense. Matter of fact, Iran had a couple of genuine chances to win the game, and a blatant penalty that should have been given had VAR been present. And in the end, it was Lionel Messi that broke the Iranian hearts with a sublime goal in the 91st minute. I gotta admit, I really admired that kind of bravery from the Iranians. This was a David who stood tall to Goliath. Fast forward to the 2018 World Cup, Iran was in the group of death. With Spain, Portugal and Morocco, you'd be forgiven to write Iran off. That being said, we saw the same spirit that Iran showed against Argentina 4 years earlier, winning against Morocco, losing to Spain with an unlucky goal, and drawing with the then European champions, Portugal. Matter of fact, they were just a 1-on-1 away from topping the group of death. And now, we're here. Another 4 years have passed, and we have Iran in the 2022 World Cup. And of course, much like last time, Iran is the quote-unquote David in their group. A group that also has England, Wales, and a country that prefers its own version of football. So yeah, not too easy for Iran. So for this video, I got in touch with who I consider the highest authority when it comes to covering Iranian football. I'm gonna have Arya from Golbezan, and we're gonna talk about why Iran's not just going for holidays for the World Cup. And no, I'm not gonna call it Iran, because frankly, no one's running a marathon here. But the question is, how would Iran fare in this World Cup? Would they be a thorn in the flesh for their opponents, as we've seen in the past 2 World Cups? Well, let's take a look at where the Iranian national team is today. It was September 2022, and the World Cup was just a couple of months away. Iran was already qualified to the World Cup after a strong campaign. From outside looking in, things look relatively stable for the national team, or at least as stable as Iranian football can be. Except, yeah, this happened. Iran's manager was fired only 2 months away from the World Cup. It's actually quite a drama. So what was going on there? Why would a manager be sacked only 2 months before the World Cup?
You know, there was a lot of controversy surrounding it. First of all, looking at the performances that we had in qualification, we did well in some of the early matches, no doubt about it. But as the qualification went on and the results were becoming a little bit less clear, we almost lost to Lebanon at one point. We got a 2-1 victory with 2 last-minute goals. It was a very lucky, kind of scrappy game. And as this kind of year went on and the qualification got to its last stages, we noticed that the performances were dropping despite the results. You know, because we got good results. You know, we qualified quite early on in the year, but we didn't perform to the standard we expect of this national team. And I think that that was one of the key factors in a lot of the players, not all the players, but a lot of the players deciding that no, you know, it's not good enough. We need to change coaches. And I think they put a lot of pressure on the sports ministry in Iran, the federation, to make this change. And I think the federation decided that, you know, we had to do this. So I think Queiroz was the only choice to come in. You know, 2 or 3 months to go to the World Cup. You know, the only person who knows the team well, who has time to do anything, and it doesn't need that kind of bedding in period to understand the players and the tactics, is Carlos Queiroz, because he's been with Iran for 8 years, 2 World Cups in a row. This would be a 3rd in a row, so I think he was a natural choice to replace Kocic.
Well, the previous manager was gone, and his replacement was, well, it would be a massive disservice to just call him a familiar face. Carlos Queiroz was the man behind the 2014 and the 2018 World Cups, the architect of the Iranian team that was such a pain in the backside for the big guns in the World Cup.
I'm back.
For the unaware, Carlos Queiroz was the assistant to the great Sir Alex Ferguson at United, and at one time, the manager of Real Madrid and Portugal. So yeah, he's got the street creds. But the question is, does he have enough time to replicate his vision? Or is this just a soup that's reheated?
It's interesting because we said that it was going to be quite hard for him to come in and really change anything when he first came in. But then he had the 2 games against Uruguay and Senegal in Vienna, and we played very well. We looked very impressive. We beat Uruguay 1-0. We drew 1-1 with Senegal, but we just scored an own goal in that game. So we played really well in these 2 games.
And it was a full power, Uruguay. Suarez,
yes, full power.
Valverde.
And we controlled the game, and I think we looked really good. So I think ultimately we can say that the team looks in a good position, having had 2 good friendlies, but still some work to be done, because obviously Queiroz has just come in. I think he has to do a little bit more in order to get his team ready for the first game against England, because England are a different animal. They're one of the best teams in the world. They got to the semi-finals in 2018. They got to the finals in the Euros. So I think they're going to be a tough opponent. But they've had some injuries, and I think Iran can make themselves enough ready in order to face that team. We've got really only 1 injury in this team. Ultimately, we have the best players available, so I think Queiroz can feel content with his preparation.
In the past 5 World Cup appearances, Iran never made it out of the group stage, despite some strong performances. And it's easy to write Iran off as the weak team in this group. That being said, I do think there's a chance of Iran causing a potential shock in this group. I think there's more than meets the eye when it comes to Iran. But the question is, will this be a chance to make it to the second round for the first time ever? So I know football is unpredictable, the ball is round, blah blah blah. But where do you see this World Cup going for Iran?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you can't speak about Iran and not speak about what's happening just now in the country, the protests that are happening. And I think at this point in time, the players are trying to show some support. Some of the fans are not with them. So I think it's going to be difficult for them from a mentality standpoint. If they can be mentally strong and they can, fight through that adversity, which really... I think they should still do their best to show support for what's going on in Iran, because they're playing for the country ultimately, so they have to show that support at this moment in time. But if they can get the mentality right, I don't see why not. I think we've got good players, people like Taremi. He's shown in Champions League that he can score goals against some of the best teams in the world, and he's a very impressive striker. And I think we have a good enough defence, especially under Carlos Queiroz, who is known for his defensive tactics. He can be somebody who organises this team to defend well against England, USA and Wales. And I think with all these things being said, if everything goes as planned, fingers crossed, I think that Iran could finish second in the group, in this Group B. I think the US are a decent team, but not the strongest team in the world. I don't think they've got enough quality to cause Iran that many issues. Wales similarly, but the English team, of course, is a very strong team. So I think Iran, can place themselves second in that group if they perform at the highest possible level that they can produce. But we shall see.
What is success for Iran? Would you take a respectable 3rd place, just like what happened in 2018? Would you consider that success? Or does it have to be like, no, we got to go up this time?
No, absolutely not. I think at this moment in time, the objective for this team has to be second place. We finished 4th place, I believe, maybe 3rd place in 2014. We finished 3rd place in 2018. I think the only natural progression is to finish second. I think we've got a good enough group to be able to do that in terms of where we stand in between these 4 teams. I think we are probably the 2nd or 3rd best team in this group, and I think that we should be able, with the players that we have, in 2018 those players were not quite in their prime. Taremi was still playing in Qatar. He wasn't playing in Europe at that time. Some of these players were still at the kind of early stage of their careers, whereas now a lot of these players are now in their primes, and they are at a stage where they should be able to produce high level performances against high level teams. I think they should be able to do that this World Cup. If they do that, no doubt in my mind they will finish second place at the very least. But at the same time, it's not going to be as simple as, we go there and we just go and beat the USA, because the USA are going to come for a fight. They want to win this game as well, so we have to be able to be ready for that. And I think that, as I said, it would be disappointing to finish third place again. But I think with what is going on, it wouldn't be surprising that we get third place in the qualification that we had, the way we performed. Third place would be likely to some extent, but I think we want the second place for sure.
Well, as you can tell, my boy Arya is quite confident in Iran causing a shock. And I gotta say, I can't disagree with it. After all, I've witnessed the resilience of this team in 2014 and 2018. I think the sum of the players is stronger than the individuals, and that's due to the work of Carlos Queiroz. In the end, I gotta ask Arya the most important question. This is a debate that wars have been fought over, and sadly, lives have been lost, depending on which side of the debate you're on. So here's the question. Pineapple on pizza, yay or nay?
Absolutely not.
That's why I like you.
Absolutely not. No chance. I mean, come on, it's a fruit. We should be eating. Tomato or tomato, wherever part of the world you live in, however you say it, that's also a fruit, but that's the only fruit that should go on a pizza. Nothing other than that. Maybe if you consider peppers also fruits as well, because they have seeds in them, but ultimately no. The only thing that should be going on a pizza is tomato, cheese, and any meats or vegetables that you want to put on. Nothing, no pineapple.